Today I'm joined by Father Hector Sherry and we'll be speaking and getting more into the topic of ecumenism. Father Hector, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
How are you, first of all?
I'm fine. Good to meet you.
My pleasure here as well. The topic of ecumenism is one that is very close to your heart, and I think I'm afraid that not many people are aware of what ecumenism is. What is ecumenism?
Well, in a few words, ecumenism involves all those efforts made by Christians to seek to re-establish unity among the different churches, because unfortunately over the centuries there were divisions among Christians. So to put a long story short, a great division between the Catholics and the Orthodox, for example, or between the Catholics and the Protestants. This took place for historical reasons, social reasons, at times theological reasons. So ecumenism is all that effort to try and seek unity, to get closer together.
I'm getting confused. What is the difference between interreligious dialogue? Because nowadays we hear a lot about, even Pope Francis emphasized that there is interreligious dialogue. What is the difference between interreligious dialogue and ecumenism?
Yes, so when we speak of interreligious dialogue, it is dialogue between different religions. So Christianity on one hand, and for example Islam, the Muslims, or with the Buddhists and the Hindus. So Christians who are all baptized with those who are not baptized. Whereas ecumenism it's like, a discussion within the family. There are sort of a bit of divisions, and there is dialogue among those who are baptized. So, as I was explaining, between Roman Catholics and Lutherans and Anglicans and Orthodox. So, when it is ecumenism, it involves dialogue among those who are baptized, who believe in one God, who is a trinity of persons, that the second person, the Son, became man in the fullness of time. We have the same Bible, we have the same baptism. So there is much more in common than what separates us Christians, whereas with other religions, it's a different kettle of fish, as they say. But we still try to dialogue.
When did ecumenism start?
So ecumenism actually formally started around the year 1910, so over a century ago. In 1910 there was a conference in Edinburgh in Scotland. So it was a World Missionary Conference meeting, and it was among Protestants. So they met to discuss missionary activity. So imagine the British Empire, it was still in its fullness, many colonies in Africa, in the East. And Christian missionaries were going to these places. And they were there was a kind of rivalry among them. So if I arrive before, I build a church, or I am evangelizing in this territory and don't come here. So there was a kind of rivalry among Christians, so among Protestants, so among Anglicans and the Baptists and Methodists and Lutherans and so on. And so when they were discussing at Edinburgh, they said, but what kind of witness are we giving if these people who aren't Christians, who are, let's call them pagans, are seeing us divided among ourselves and in a way, trying to compete among each other. And so they started to dialogue among themselves. So that was the birth of ecumenism. So the birth of the ecumenical movement at Edinburgh. Eventually, not long after, the Orthodox started to get interested. With the Catholics, it took longer. With us Catholics, it took longer for us to join the ecumenical movement.
So within the Catholic family, when was the starting point? I know Saint Pope John XXIII was a very prominent figure in the ecumenical discussion, but when did it first start?
So formally, in the context of the Second Vatican Council, so the Second Vatican Council started in 1962 until 1965. And Pope John XXIII, he said, I will gather all the bishops of the world to discuss about the church and also to try and seek Christian unity. So this man, John XXIII, who was in a sense predisposed regarding ecumenism. Why? Because many years earlier, he was the Pope's ambassador, called the nuncio, in countries which had an Orthodox majority. And he was a very kind man, very open-hearted, so for him it wasn't difficult to have relations. He was in Bulgaria, he was in Greece and in Istanbul in Turkey, and then later on he was in Paris, where there was a sizable Russian Orthodox community, and so he was already used years ahead to dialogue with these people. And so it is with no surprise that we find him saying, look, we're trying to seek Christian unity. But let us not forget the fact that earlier there were some Catholics who were pioneers in ecumenism. So they were interested, I'm talking of people, say, in France, in Germany, and in Britain, and they were interested, they were praying for Christian unity, they were even organizing, some kinds of little things within the Catholic Church, which were in a way frowned upon. They were looked at with suspicion at first. But eventually, ecumenism becomes, as you said, Pope John the 23rd and all the popes up till today, part of the mission of the Church. So to seek unity.
You said it's still the mission of the Church that we seek unity, because I think even though we've been continuously discussing unity, but somehow there are still some tensions. Currently, what is the Church doing? What is the Pope doing with regards to this problem?
Yes, so thank God, since the late 1960s, early 1970s, the Catholic Church has been engaged in what is called bilateral dialogue. There are different kinds of bilateral. So bilateral means there are two sides, So we have the bilateral dialogue between the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church. And so there are experts on both sides who meet to discuss issues. There are issues which we agree upon already. So baptism, for example, the Bible, ministry in the Church, the way it is exercised may be different. There is a bilateral dialogue going on between Catholics and Lutherans, the Lutheran World Federation, between Catholics and the Orthodox. And these dialogues entail mostly theologians. But the most basic kind of dialogue is the dialogue of life. Imagine you have a neighbor. She's a friend of yours. She isn't Maltese or she isn't a Catholic, but you discover that she belongs to a different church, and you become friends. And you ask her, are you a believer? And she tells you, yes, I am a Christian. And she tells you, I am, for example, Orthodox, or I am Lutheran. And then you start becoming, you get to know about her church, and she gets to know about the Catholic Church. That is a dialogue of life. That is the most basic dialogue, so anyone can do it. It's interest in the other person.
If we had to summarize, perhaps for the students that are viewing this, what would be the three most important points to know about ecumenism?
First of all, that there are other churches and that there are divisions, as we said. That is the first important thing. So then getting to know about them. So they are not our enemies. When I meet Christians from other churches, as you might have met, we talk, we discuss, we are happy to be together. So yes, so getting to know more about them. So there's lots of information on the internet and on other social media. And you get to know, there are books, of course, about these topics. One also can see what the Church says about ecumenism. So the two most important things. So knowing that there are other churches which are divided, and then getting to know more about them. And what else were you asking me?
Another maybe a point that we should know about ecumenism.
Yes, how important it is to appreciate the good things in these churches. Because when I look at a Christian from another church who happens not to be a Roman Catholic like ourselves, but I can become a better Christian, a better Catholic when I learn something from another Christian who is leading a good life as well. So yes, there's so much we can receive from each other. So being, disposed, being ready to receive these gifts, yes, from others, And I hope that also other Christians would appreciate the gifts we give them. So, our tradition, our feasts, our teachings, what the popes have been teaching about these topics, because we Catholics have a central figure, the Pope. So we have had many popes who have worked in favor of ecumenism. They have promoted it. Pope Leo XIV, the current Pope, also building bridges, he says. So we have a central figure, and so the Pope speaks out. Other churches may not always have a central figure who is so prominent, and other Christians appreciate this fact that we have a central figure and that we are so clear on what the teaching of the Church is.
Do you think we'll ever be unified? Do you think that the conversation of an ecumenism will stop?
Ecumenism is a process. Of course, some were speaking many years ago, look, perhaps by the year 2000 we would be united. The year 2000 has come and gone. Yet, as Pope Francis used to say, he used to say, look, ecumenism is a miracle, and God never starts a miracle without bringing it to its completion. So the good thing about ecumenism is that we are walking together, not on parallel lines. Parallel lines never meet, but we're getting closer. And that is what ecumenism is. So it's like climbing a mountain from different sides. We're all climbing a mountain, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, and we will reach the summit one day when we will be together. Of course, the wish of Jesus on the eve of his passion was that they may all be one. And that is what ecumenism seeks to do, trying to get closer, and the things we can do together, we do together, so we can meet to pray together. So far, we can't celebrate the Eucharist together because we are still divided, unfortunately, but we can pray together. There are several moments of prayer which are so profound when we pray together. We can also do together social initiatives. So, for example, different churches are supporting the same missionary projects in a faraway country. So these are all things we can do together. And then there is also, and Pope Francis used to insist upon it, the ecumenism of the martyrs. When a Christian is martyred somewhere, the one who is persecuting doesn't ask him or her, are you a Catholic, are you Orthodox, are you Lutheran? No, because you are a Christian. And so when Christians have shed their blood, even in the same countries, it is the same Christian blood which flows together as a river. So, and it is very moving, because as Pope Francis used to say, in martyrdom we are already united, but there is much more we have to do as we go along on this path.
Father Hector, thank you so much for sharing this invaluable knowledge and clearing perhaps our thoughts on what ecumenism is, and we're really grateful for this conversation.
Thank you, Mariam. It's been a pleasure to talk about ecumenism, and I hope what we have discussed will be helpful to others as well.
For sure, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.